Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, family. We are fast approaching one of the major pilgrimage feasts, one of the 3 pilgrimage feasts of all Israel. So that's all 12. It is a binding covenant, whether we perceive it that way or not. Yahweh does not change, but this has a lot of mysteries attached to it. So I want to give you 4 kind of areas of some main embedded mystery in Shavuot, which is known as the Festival of the Giving of the Torah. Remember, I said I love to say Torah. At Mt Sinai. Technically, today in the nomenclature, the literature, you'll see it's kind of like the Jews were at the mountain on Mt Sinai. But really and truly, it was this conglomeration of 12 tribes, many kind of pagan Gentiles who had attached themselves to this exodus out of Egypt, all of the women and children and everyone attached to that. So it's quite a large body. This group of people are known as those who made the covenant on Mount Sinai. Now, this is a kind of mountain type of event. I mean, it's big, it's huge, it has a lot of meaning on many levels. And it's, like I said, one of the 3 mandatory pilgrimage feasts, meaning if you were within the distance to be able to travel to Jerusalem for participation personally, as the male, the head of the household, to represent, again, everybody's a placeholder for their household, their clan, their people. So this is, let me just give you some of the, okay, now let me say this again, just to always know where I am and what I'm using as my understanding, which comes from PaRDeS, which is Jewish exegesis. This is the way the Torah is written, even the New Testament. It's documented. Even people like Luke and Mark and these people and Paul followed a system that was already established. Okay, they didn't make anything up. They're laying on a foundation that was already long established, called PaRDeS. So there are different levels of understanding embedded in every single verse, in every single word, in every single letter. I mean, we don't understand the depth, the depth and the riches of the glory of God, of Elohim, as Paul says. But we're going to deal here with Sod, which is a sealed mystery. It is for the prophet and the sage. It's a deep embedded understanding that usually has to do with the largest strategies of spiritual warfare and the largest plan of redemption, spanning the largest period of time, over thousands of years. All right, so this is not necessarily a simple little meaning. This is definitely tiered and layered to contain deep information that you can't get lost. All right, now some quick facts about Pentecost, just so you know. In Christian nomenclature, according to Ephraim, and I like to use the word Ephraim for Christianity because that is its biblical designation, its most common biblical designation by the prophets who were able to span the history of the northern kingdom down thousands of years. Okay, they called them Ephraim. If they wanted to call them Christianity, I guess they could have, that revelation could have come, but they didn't. Okay, one of the important things is Yahweh, does not change. Now, let me get back to an important, one of the first mysteries I want to talk about that's in here. The word, as we would say, is known as Pentecost, but in the Hebrew, it is the Festival of Shavuot. And it is a very specific fixed date, and it always comes after 50 days. This is what we've been going through if you've been sort of following the Jewish calendar. 50 days of the counting of the Omer. Okay, now I'm not going to go into that, but there's a whole reason why you have 50 days between Passover and Shavuot. Now, Shavuot is called the conclusion, or the conclusion of redemption, which also, in another, flip it around from another point of view, it is the beginning of the redemption plan, the giving of Torah on Mount Sinai. Depending on, because everything you're going to see is a cycle. That is the most important one of the most important overarching archetypes to understand is how they embed information in a cyclical way. Now, 50, they come to this by the Jubilee, which is 50. All right, let me get this out. 50 in Gematria, one of the other words that has the same numerical value, which means there's a correspondence to 50, to this, which is known as a Jubilee, is the word Kol, K-O-L, Kol, the Kol HaTov, which means all right? So this is a word that encompasses, like, that's what I mean, the whole plan of salvation. It's number, it's word, in the implication, there's a completed cycle going on here. All of something is contained within this cycle, and lo and behold. So what they're doing is they're taking 7 weeks, because if you took 50, 7 times 7 is 49. And then the next year, the next 50th year is, again, the end of that cycle, but the beginning of a new cycle. And this is how, so you have at that point, that 50th day, which is 7 times 7 cycles, from, like I said, from the day of Passover until Shavuot, it is equal to 7,000 years. I want to tell you, yes, there's a week, 7 days equals 7 days equals 1 week. But also what they do is they take those 7 times 7, all right, and 7 times one thing we know is 7,000 years. There are 7,000 years, or 7, because, and I'm using that in the way because a day is as 1,000 years. It's biblically orthodox to carry over the concept, the archetype of that. So 7,000 years times 7, again, it gives you 49, which lo and behold, as the math goes on, believe me, Ephraim, you haven't been doing the math all these thousands of years like the Jews have. This is another divine cycle. So that within this, so there really are, and you can count it and document it in the Torah, billions of years, many epochs and ages and, cycles of living. Okay, that's what I want to say. It's there. It is in the letters. It's the way it's written, so it can be embedded. It can be truncated into there. But for us to say, one of the major revelations I want to say is this concept will explain a very cryptic verse. It's in Genesis 6:3. Okay, and it says that. See, this is how the word confirms the word. When you understand, it says 50 times 120, that Yahweh will not strive, or Elohim will not strive with mankind any more than 120 years. So I think it says 50 jubilees times 120 years. He will only contend with the spirit of mankind for 50 jubilees, all right, times 120 in the verse gives you 6,000 years. For 6,000 years, man will toil. And then on the 7th day, the beginning of the millennium, right, the beginning of the last day, that we will go into this time period of a period of rest, and a period of really all the promises, the culmination, the fruit, the full blessing of what has been, so to speak, the redemption that's been growing in the earth all this time. But that's how you understand. See, they truncated it's a confirming witness that it's 6,000 years and a day of rest. All the cycles, all the way to 7s, and they're broken down, is consistent. So you will have, but this will happen, this 6,000 years. One of the signs that we have reached this age, all right? And like I said, the calendar is, because the times and seasons have been changed, it's just a hugely complex and complicated and confusing. So I don't go that deep into it. Let some of the other math brainiacs figure that out. But just to show that these are some of the understandings built into this concept of Shavuot, which is a 50, which marks a jubilee, which is also coded to the word, again, mysteries, it's coded to the word for Bina. Bina is the Hebrew word for understanding, okay? And that is the principal thing. All these things, all these concepts are circling around each other. But and Bina is associated with the number 50. Right, so all these things are confirming each other. And the giving of Torah on Mount Sinai, this is who gave it. This is Elohim, God. This is the manifest, imminent presence of God that literally got in their face with all sorts of bells and whistles and supernatural displays, lightning and thunder, supernatural. It was entering into their consciousness. I'm sure their whole brains were electrified. I could go into on so many levels, this imprint of Torah on this group of people that would go down and echo through all their generations, all their offspring. Was pretty amazing. But let me go to another type of archetype and mystery embedded in this. Okay. Now this is a kind of a bad graphic, which I'm working on a better one. These are some of the graphics that I'm using, been developing, but let me just put this up quick so I can. I'm constantly making little charts for myself and plugging in information. But what I want to say about this is the way the tribes are camped. If you've ever, studied out the placement, and this is a good day, the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai, because they were camped in very specific ways, and they were so precisely told, you face this way, and, because as above, so below, we think it's just sort of with the temple, but it's actually the whole nation is supposed to kind of move in this archetypal way of being this kingdom of priests and kings. So all of their lifestyles, everything, and one of them also is how they camped out. Now, all the sons of Levi had specific jobs that were duplicated over, or not to be duplicated or exchanged. One of the things I want to show you here, this is how the tribes are camped around what? Around the Holy of Holies, around the Ark of the Covenant, around the tabernacle, okay? Now, in the east here, and this thing is also one of the major ways they plot this, is to, directional, east, north, south, and west. So, you got Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin over here in the west. Okay, that's exactly where they are on this chart or on this map. Then you have over here in the south, you have Gad, Reuben, and Simeon, and they are over here. Like I said, this is in the south. And then you have what's opposite of the south is the north. So right up here, you have Dan, Asher, and Naphtali, and so they're up here. And then over there to the right, you have the east. And these have so many coded. And again, I'm not going to even go into this, but to show you again, this is another graph of that. And I have here is the east, now colored. Here is the south, here is the west, and here is the north. Directional, very important. You got to know where you are. Yahweh is never lost. And for people who want to track him, I want to show you. This is one of the other graphics we're making. I make this. This is, what does this look like? You've always known this is the cross, right? This is it. But these things, like the Christians didn't make up the cross. This is ancient Jewish wisdom. And if you were to take, this is the way that and actually we can just do it here, the way they're camped around, right? Here in the east is these tribes. So let's just put this, what I do is I put this on here. All right. It fits people. There's nothing confusing. The east is right up here where it's supposed to be. Opposite is the west. This is in the south. These tribes, this geographic area is in the south. Opposite it is north. It's to prove, when he talks about how the east is distant from the west and the two never meet. That's a true statement of nature and of physics and on the spiritual levels. These are dimensions, and actually these refer to Sephirithic to the tree of life, to the Sephirithic hives, hubs, intelligences, command centers, so to speak, of Yahweh Elohim is how he functions, how he displays his glory and his everything in the cosmoses. But what you understand, these things are really based on ancient, Enochian to Abraham, from Shem to Abraham, and all the way down to Moshe, locked in understandings. That's what's the basis of the soul level in our Torah. Now, these were so camped in such a way, and it's not an accident, so that facing here in the east is always coded to be in the beginning. All right, the sun rises in the morning in the east because that's the beginning of the day, and it's not an archetype, it's never going to change. All right, so but this is where you have Aaron and Moshe and the Kohanim, the high priest. This was the priests and the Levites, and they were kind of there were four. They ended up with four groups between three Levite groups, families, lineages, clans, and one that was directly descended from Aaron as the high priest. Now, the reason Aaron and that tribe, isn't that Yahweh plays favorites, but he is definitely a rewarder of those who diligently seek him and do his will. Aaron was one of the only tribes, he led the tribe that did not go along with the sin of the golden calf, which they had just come out of. So it's a sure bet. So Yahweh's like, okay, Aaron, well done, good and faithful servant. Okay, I will give you more responsibility, right? To him who is faithful in the least, much more will be given. So the whole priesthood was laid on the shoulders of the descendants of Aaron. So, all right. But all the sons of Levi, Levi is the great grandfather, Aaron, because Levi was the son of Jacob, to whom the priesthood was specifically and originally in scripture given through the descendants of Levi, of the 12. And then it morphs down, and then by the time we get to Aaron, we really do have an established clan lineage, genealogical lineage of people descended from him who will be high priests and the rest. But all the tents were supposed to face but let me say, but all of these had specific jobs to do with regards to carrying, picking up the tabernacle and going with the people on their quote unquote wilderness journey, setting it up again. I mean, they were the spiritual hub and hive to keep them connected. Do all the physical labor, and the priest to keep all the understanding, the teaching in the house. I mean, they had a huge responsibility, but all of these guys had different parts of that to do, and they were not to exchange them or duplicate. So stay in your lane. That's one of the most important principles. Just stay in your lane. All right. But yes, I said that. And so they carried the one thing is that, so the priest here. Now let me show you how another way that this is confirmed. I have another graphic here. All right, let me put this up. You've seen this all the time, right? The four priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant. No archetypal accident here. All right. So the sons of Levi, or the sons of Aaron, these high priests were to carry the holy objects used in the Holy of Holies, in the holy place. The Ark, let me see if I have it here, like the Ark of the Covenant, the brazen, the two altars, the menorah, maybe even the showbread table. But the thing is, they were to be carried. A lot of this was put in the Ark and was carried on demand. This is what Yahweh said, this way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to pick four priests. They are to carry it on their shoulders. Now, they could have carried the Ark down, had those poles down below and carried them on their lower part of their arms, or they could have done it here, but they were told to carry it at shoulder level, because that, again, shoulder level is to indicate their high level. It's all rank of their high level of rank, so to speak, in this whole spiritual system. So on the shoulders, which equates to, if you're familiar with it, listen, I'm coming out teaching, roaring like a lion. It's the time for the tree of life to be understood again by Ephraim, because right at the shoulders is Hesed and Gevurah, which is right at the shoulders. This is where these anointings come from. They come from the level of, into the different worlds. It's a high level, the Neshama soul. It's a high level of anointing that these people carried. See, so everything is confirming everything else. There's a reason. And when we stop, that's why Yahweh gets, when you stop doing things according to the original archetype and the plan and forget the reason, what's the point? He's always saying. So there's so much information. So you have the Gershonites and the Merarites and the Kohathites all carried the sacred objects. So these, and it follows a progression, people. There's okay. So while they were responsible for the holy items, it was this tribe right next to them, because we're on a wheel. We're good, and we know that things cycle. We go from winter to spring. That's another way that this is coded. So this is winter in the east, spring, summer, and this is the fall. It's on the wheel. All right. Don't we not have a cycle, a wheel of seasons going? Okay. And the next one is in the spring. And these people carried the sealed objects. They give so much detail in today's Parsha. If you were to read it, it talks about how they even covered the holy objects with very specific skins and they 3 layers of this, and it's very, they're all very specific, because this is intense spiritual technology these people are responsible for. Anyways, these people carried those objects, and then it came over here. They took down the floor and the ceiling, walls and woven coverings, and they carried around the walls. And they took down the sockets, the wooden parts, the ropes, the structural parts that held it all together. And then you're back. So everybody had a job to do to quickly disassemble and then assemble, and it went in a progression, and it all followed. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. See, this is what it means to see a hint in the Remez. And this is what so much Bible study is, in my opinion, just a waste of time. People are just constantly seeing remezes, hints, things, these relationships, 7s and 10s and 4s and 5, but they don't really know what they point to. And I'm telling you, it points to a systematic theology called the Tree of Life. Sign up for my classes, because I'm really ready to truly explain this, I think, on a hugely high level. And down here, but the drash, this is what's important about today. Because today, forget the mysteries. It's great. It confirms the word. But the main thing is, if you love me, you will obey me. And bottom line, it is in the drash that they made a covenant with. See, what Moshe got, he got a package deal. He got this whole systematic theology in a very high supernal way. And it was so mind-blowing to him. But then it eventually was so burdensome also that he passed it on to the 70 elders. And much of it, that's where we get the oral Torah. Because much of it is it's so filled with a system of mnemonics and memorization and these things that you don't write it down. You have to memorize it. You have to. Sometimes I get tongue-tied because of the amount of information that we don't understand. But that doesn't make. But the drash is the moral application. And this is truly one of the greatest gifts. This is the birthright sort of in which Judah has been operating, because they have been keeping the Torah, the 10 commandments, the law, the knowledge of God, his ethical standards for all mankind, which does follow the Noahide laws. And this is the covenant at Sinai. Make no mistake about it. Maybe the elders got a little more sod level understanding, a higher level. Betziel, oh my gosh, that guy was like totally the rocket scientist of spiritual matters and understanding in his day, okay? Who also was a direct descendant of Levi, Aaron, Moshe. These people were all really one big clan. But this point is a giving of Torah. This is what they sang down to. Yahweh said, look, I will be your God. I will do amazing miracles for you. I will keep you at the head of the pack. You will be the head and not the tail. You will be a blessing. You will teach the nations my Torah. And I will do all sorts of amazing things for you. but you have to keep my Torah, and you have to teach and hold it up as a standard for the nations. And unfortunately, this is what they're trying to dismantle today. I mean, that's what all this cancel culture and, everything is an attack on Torah. The spirit of lawlessness is rampant and running in the streets. And the only way Ephraim and Judah are going to stop it is we have to come back to our covenant at Mt Sinai and literally sign on again. And this is our sword. This is our standard. We uphold this in personally, collectively, and hold the nations accountable. One of the Noahide laws, I have to say, which I wish was in the 10 Commandments, and I don't really have a good answer why it wasn't, is that they were told they had to keep courts of justice in the land. This is why, law and order, you have to have courts of men who will not accept bribes and who will judge justly when the wicked get out of hand. Because if evil triumphs when good men do nothing. Okay. And this is our standard. And is, when we took the 10 Commandments out of the classrooms, when we were forced by a MSM principality media to renounce this or to not, whatever. Okay. Then we really started to go downhill fast. Okay. And this is what we need to reclaim. This is the greatest thing that we could do on the giving of Shavuot. If you want to get an outpouring, if you're spiritually hungry, thirsty, if you feel like you're in a wilderness experience, you're running out of gas, which is, we need to stay up all night and study Torah because even our Yeshua HaMashiach, Ephraim, was the bread of life. He was the Torah and he gave himself. So we can do the same. We have to give ourselves back to Torah. Now, the last thing I want to say about this, another kind of mystery embedded in here, but again, we went through this and I can't wait till I can get this all information on a very good readable chart coming, but is I want to talk about Bina. So again, Bina is one of the most, this is understanding. This is one of the most least understood concepts, really, from a Hebraic, Orthodox, Jewish exegesis, biblical, whatever you want to call it, who Yeshua was, all those things, was that. Now, in Psalm 54:4, here's again a way, you have to have 2 or 3 witnesses minimum, how the proof texts confirm each other. But Psalm 54:4, okay, the beginning of Psalm says, it basically says that Elohim is my helper. Okay. Elohim is the name of God, but it is also the name of Bina. Every Sephirah has one of the names of God attached to it. That's its personification. So Yah is the complement of Bina, which is Chokmah, which is Yah, which starts with the Yod. All right. The Bina starts with the Bet. So we have this, which is the first female marker. Okay. Don't get you. But anyways, Elohim is my helper. Bina is the female personification of the Godhead. Bina is known also as a confirming witness, as the helper. Remember, it says in Genesis, I think it's 2, I didn't write that down, Genesis 2:10, I'm guessing in that, Genesis 2:18, okay, where it says that he made a helper, a suitable helper for Adam. Now, Adam and Eve in this high level are our archetypal parents. It's wisdom and understanding. It's this high level of God consciousness they lived at in the garden. They talked with the Father. They talked with God, all right? They were living at a very high level. They saw each other. They talked to each other. There was no screens. There was no filters, no garments. All right? But before that, he made a suitable helper. This word suitable and this word helper is so interesting because Elohim is known as the helper. And this is why these things all circle around, because they're all really confirming witnesses for the same thing. But Elohim is known as God, is known as the Sephirah of Bina, who is known as Eve, who is known as the mother of all. Remember I told you all is the word, oops, look, that's not running out. All is the word Kol, K-O-L, which is referencing, okay, so remember that all is this, which is everything. She is the mother of everything. Everything living comes from Eve, which is Bina, which is, she's the heavenly mother. Paul refers to her as the Jerusalem from above. All right. So these things, so when he made a suitable helper, and another confirming witness in the bet, let me try to make a bet here. Okay. There's a dot. Remember in other videos, and when you, that dot in these letters is highly significant. And sometimes the dot's above the letter, sometimes below, and they all mean something. It's pointing to position in the supernal realms. The fact that this dot is in the middle on the bet, I said before, applies to that it's a suitable helper. In other words, they were like co-equal. All right. There wasn't, in the sense that she received everything that she was like the backside, just the flip side, except with a different, basically, energy source. One was giving and one was receiving. I mean, these things are these, of course, confirm on every single level of reality you can possibly imagine. Now, so he made a suitable, so this one in the middle, coming from not above Adam, not hierarchically than Adam, or not below Adam, not like under his feet where he should tread her under his feet, okay? Right there, right in the middle, co-equal, just another, the left brain and the right brain, okay? Now, so this is, but what gets poured out on Shavuot? This is the whole point, people. What gets poured out on Shavuot is the helper. I will send you who? I will send you what? See, the saddest thing is how we've lost in translation all of our pronoun pointers. It's not a male. The helper. This is our heavenly mother. This is our helper. And this is in the Amidah. Oh, the word Osir. I get ahead of myself, but for people who have more understanding, he's our Melech, our Osir, our helper, our Melech, our Mashiach, our Messiah, and our Melech, our king. These are the four major attributes, okay? And one of them is helper. And that helper refers to Eve. She was made as the helper, the other side, okay? He's split. And so the advocate that's what was sent to them. Well, what does Bina is called? She's all. She's what? She's all of Torah wrapped up. And in this drosh level, this is something that we just don't really, there is 10 commandments. There is an unchangeable standard in which Yahweh judges his people and the nations. He doesn't just willy-nilly decide, oh my gosh, those bad Egyptians, let's just, no, he's weighing them in the balances, year after year, and to a point, a tipping point where it's like, okay, the judgment is right, it's ready, it's at the door, okay? These people have earned a just, then the judgment will be just. So this is again where Bina, where they get this stuff and they get so confused. Okay, so tongues of fire is another thing we associate, right? Well, Bina, it's not like you're seeing literal fire above their head. Bina comes, another one of her code words is fire. She is the upper Sephirah. She is the upper, and her code is fire, darkness. And it's not fire like, I've said this so many times, like, it's a luminous. It means that there's a quality, but this supernal fire, luminosity, okay, about her, that there's light even in the darkness. There is still a light that shines even in the darkness, and it's called this fire. All right, and that's what they had just received, a downpouring. There were 120 in the room at the time. These people were committed. These people knew they were staying up all night, people. They were staying up all night, involved in Torah, reading, studying, meditating, praying. Torah. Why wouldn't they get it? He said, wait for the Father. He's sending them on a huge mission now. They're going to take a worldwide challenge, He's giving them an anointing. He says, wait, on that day, and there is so much spiritual blessing and power that gets poured out on this night. If you are in the right place at the right time, if you're under the right tree, you're going to get a bucket load of great power, downloads of wisdom, understanding, and authority. And that's what we need, because we have got to take up the sword of the Spirit, and we've got to push back. This is a pushback time. And so this is why these mysteries are coming out. You need to receive them and apply them, and we need to move out on them. So Shabbat Shalom, happy Shavuot, and I will see you at the next class.